Welcome to the all-new Hoop Nova, your ultimate source for everything basketball.
The NBA offseason usually moves at lightning speed.
Within the first week of free agency, most of the biggest names are already off the market. Teams have filled their biggest needs, and the remaining players are left competing for the final roster spots.
But this year has been different. While the opening days of free agency were packed with blockbuster signings and trade announcements, everything suddenly slowed down.
Weeks have passed, yet several talented players are still waiting for a contract. One of the biggest reasons is that many front offices appear to be waiting for the final domino to fall, especially regarding LeBron James and a few other superstar situations.
Until those decisions become official,
many teams are holding on to cap flexibility instead of making aggressive moves. That leaves a surprising number of quality players sitting in free agency despite having plenty left to offer.
These aren't aging veterans who can barely contribute anymore. They're legitimate NBA talents who could
immediately strengthen the team's rotation under the right circumstances. Let's take a look at 5 players who are still
unsigned and why each of them deserves another opportunity. The first player is Bennedict Mathurin. Mathurin entered the NBA with enormous expectations after being selected by the Indiana Pacers.
During his rookie season, he quickly showed why scouts were so excited about his scoring ability, averaging roughly 17 points per game. He finished near the top of the Rookie of the Year voting and proved he could create offense against NBA defenses. While his efficiency wasn't perfect, that's common for young players adjusting to the speed of the league at the time.
Indiana was rebuilding, which allowed him to play freely without worrying about every mistake.
But everything changed once the Pacers became contenders. As the team started chasing playoff success,
the margin for error became much smaller. Head coach Rick Carlisle emphasized quick ball movement and team-oriented basketball,
while Mathurin often relied on isolation scoring and holding onto the ball longer than the offense preferred. His individual talent was obvious, but his style didn't always fit the identity Indiana wanted to build. Eventually, his role shrank, and he became more of a bench scorer during the Pacers' deep playoff runs.
Later, the organization decided to move in a different direction, trading him to the Clippers. Unfortunately, his time there produced many of the same concerns. Now he's a free agent facing a difficult market.
Teams know he can score in bunches and provide instant offense off the bench, but they also know he needs the right system and the right contract.
If he's willing to accept a role as a microwave scorer instead of expecting star treatment,
there's no doubt he can still help an NBA team. The second player is Jonathan Kuminga. Few young players have generated as much debate as Kuminga over the past several years.
Every season seemed to follow the exact same pattern.
He would explode for a handful of incredible games, reminding everyone of his elite athleticism and superstar potential.
Then, just as expectations started rising, his production would fall off. His inconsistency has always been the biggest obstacle. Physically, Kuminga has almost everything coaches want.
He's explosive, powerful, fast in transition, and finishes extremely well around the basket.
He's also developed a respectable post-game and can be dangerous cutting toward the rim when he's fully engaged. The problem has never been talent. It's been focus on offense. He sometimes forces difficult shots or makes questionable decisions.
Defensively, despite having all the physical tools to become elite, he frequently loses concentration, misses rotations,
and reacts just a split second too late. Those lapses frustrated the Warriors throughout his time in Golden State. Even after impressive stretches, he often found himself back in Steve Kerr's doghouse because the coaching staff simply couldn't trust him consistently. After eventually being traded to Atlanta, many hoped a fresh start would unlock his potential.
Instead, the same issues followed him. To this point, teams know exactly what Kuminga is. He can produce huge scoring nights, but he isn't someone you can rely on every game.
Last offseason, he reportedly hoped for a contract close to maximum money, but the market clearly didn't agree this summer. He'll likely need to reset his expectations. If he accepts a more reasonable contract and embraces a defined role, he still has the talent to become a valuable rotation player on a playoff team. The third player is Bradley Beal. Unlike the previous 2 players, Beal's arsenal is already complete. For years, he was one of the NBA's premier shooting guards.
A 3-time All-Star, Beal consistently averaged over 30 points during his prime and established himself as one of the league's most gifted scorers. His offensive game has always been polished. He can score from all three levels, create off the dribble, attack the basket, and knock down difficult jump shots. Few guards have possessed his combination of smooth shot creation and scoring versatility. However,
the perception surrounding Beal has changed dramatically over the last few seasons. Injuries have limited his availability, and his massive contract became one of the league's most discussed topics. Instead of being viewed as an elite scorer, conversations shifted toward whether he was worth the financial commitment attached to him. Now that he's available, teams face an interesting decision. The talent is still there,
but contenders don't necessarily need him to score 30 points every night anymore. Instead, they need him to become an efficient secondary or even third scoring option while staying healthy. If Beal accepts that role,
he could instantly raise the ceiling of several playoff teams looking for additional offensive firepower. Sometimes a player's value isn't about carrying a franchise anymore.
It's about fitting into the right situation.
And that's exactly where Beal finds himself today. Free agency always creates winners and losers, but it also creates opportunities. Mathurin, Kuminga, and Beal all have very different career paths, yet they share one thing in common: they're still talented enough to contribute at a high level. The challenge isn't proving they belong in the NBA, it's proving they're willing to adapt, whether that means accepting a smaller contract,
embracing a reduced role, or changing their style of play. Each of these players has the ability to make a real impact once they find the right team. The longer free agency lasts, the more pressure builds.
But history has shown that many of the best late-of-season signings end up becoming major contributors once the regular season begins for these players.
All it takes is one opportunity and one team willing to believe they're worth the gamble.
Now, let's move on to one of the biggest names still sitting in free agency: Bradley Beal. There was a time when Beal was considered one of the NBA's elite shooting guards.
During his prime with the Washington Wizards, he was a three-time All-Star and one of the league's most dangerous scorers.
He averaged over 30 points per game in multiple seasons, could create his own shot from anywhere on the floor, and consistently carried one of the league's heaviest defensive workloads.
At his peak, there were very few guards who could match his scoring versatility, but the NBA changes quickly. Over the last few years, Beal's reputation has shifted dramatically.
Instead of being known as one of the league's premier offensive weapons, his name became tied to one of the biggest contracts in basketball.
After signing a massive $250 million extension, expectations skyrocketed, and so did the pressure.
Unfortunately, his production never quite justified that level of investment when Phoenix acquired him.
The Suns believed they had assembled a championship-caliber Big Three alongside Devin Booker and Kevin Durant.
On paper, the trio looked unstoppable.
Three elite scorers sharing the court should have been enough to compete for a title. Reality turned out very differently. The enormous salaries tied to those three stars left Phoenix with very little financial flexibility to build quality depth around them. The supporting cast lacked consistency, defense, and reliable bench production. As injuries piled up and chemistry became an issue, the Suns never found the balance needed to make a serious playoff run.
Despite all the talent on the roster, they failed to win even a single postseason series together. Eventually, Phoenix had no choice but to reset. The organization decided the experiment had failed and chose to move on,
even if it meant buying out Beal's contract just to clear the books and begin building a different roster. After that, Beal joined the Los Angeles Clippers, hoping to reinvent himself. Instead of carrying an offense, he was expected to provide veteran leadership, instant scoring, and secondary playmaking in a smaller role. Unfortunately,
luck wasn't on his side. Just 6 games into the season, a major injury ended his campaign before it ever had a chance to get going. Now Beal finds himself in an unfamiliar position.
Teams aren't questioning his talent, they're questioning his health,
durability, and whether he can consistently stay on the floor. Even so, there's still plenty of reason for optimism. The biggest difference now is value. Instead of commanding a massive contract,
Beal is likely available for a veteran minimum deal, or something very close to it. That completely changes the conversation. When you're paying someone $50 million, every weakness becomes magnified. But when that same player is earning a fraction of that salary, the risk becomes incredibly manageable. He's 33 years old. Beal isn't an aging veteran ready for retirement. He may not be the explosive superstar he once was, but he still possesses high-level basketball skills. He can create offense, handle the ball, knock down jump shots, and score from all three levels. In a bench role where he's asked to play 20 to 25 minutes a night instead of carrying an entire franchise, he could become one of the biggest bargains in free agency for contenders searching for affordable scoring. Bradley Beal remains a gamble worth considering. Next on the list is Russell Westbrook. Few players in NBA history have divided opinions quite like Westbrook. Throughout his career,
he's been praised as one of the fiercest competitors the league has ever seen, while also receiving criticism for his decision-making, shooting, and turnovers.
Every off-season, it seems like someone declares his career finished. Yet somehow, Westbrook keeps proving people wrong. A couple of seasons ago, many fans questioned Denver's decision to bring him in. Critics believed his playing style wouldn't fit alongside Nikola Jokic and predicted it would become a disaster. Instead, the exact opposite happened. Westbrook embraced his role off the bench,
developed excellent chemistry with Jokic, and became an important secondary playmaker for the Nuggets.
His energy changed games, his pace created easy scoring opportunities, and he consistently gave Denver a spark whenever the starters rested.
He averaged around 13 points and 6 assists while helping stabilize the second unit this past season.
He joined the Sacramento Kings after receiving very little interest across the league. Sacramento struggled throughout the year.
But one thing remained consistent. Westbrook competed every single night. Whether the Kings were winning or losing, he brought maximum effort, attacked the basket fearlessly,
and often looked like the team's emotional leader. He finished the season averaging roughly 15 points and 7 assists.
Numbers that prove he still has plenty left in the tank, of course. Westbrook isn't without flaws not at 37 years old. He is no longer the unstoppable athlete who once dominated the league with sheer explosiveness.
His outside shooting remains inconsistent,
and turnovers are still part of his game. However, what hasn't changed is his relentless motor. He continues putting enormous pressure on opposing defenses every time he attacks the paint.
His passing instincts remain elite, and his ability to create opportunities for teammates is something very few backup guards can replicate. In today's NBA, teams often struggle whenever their primary ball handler heads to the bench. Entire offenses can fall apart without someone capable of organizing the second unit. That's exactly where Westbrook still provides tremendous value. No one expects him to be a franchise cornerstone anymore,
but as a veteran backup point guard who can control the tempo,
push the pace, and mentor younger teammates,
he remains an excellent option for playoff contenders needing more depth at the guard position. Finally, let's talk about Bruce Brown. Brown may not be the biggest name on this list,
but he might actually be the easiest player to fit onto almost any roster in the NBA. Throughout his career,
he's earned a reputation as the ultimate glue guy.
Coaches love players who don't need the spotlight to impact winning, and Brown has built his entire career around doing exactly that. His biggest contribution came during Denver's 2023 championship run, where his versatility became one of the Nuggets' greatest strengths.
This past season, after returning to Denver, he once again reminded everyone why championship teams value players like him so highly. Brown does a little bit of everything defensively. He can comfortably guard multiple positions thanks to his strength, toughness, and relentless effort. He's willing to battle bigger forwards one possession and chase quicker guards the next. Offensively,
he doesn't need the basketball to make an impact. He's an outstanding cutter, runs the floor well in transition, sets effective screens despite being a guard,
and keeps the offense moving by making smart, quick decisions. When needed, he can even handle secondary playmaking duties and bring the ball off the floor. Perhaps most importantly, Brown embraces all the little things that rarely appear on highlight reels. He crashes the glass, fights for loose balls, takes charges, boxes out bigger players, and willingly accepts difficult defensive assignments.
Those are the kinds of winning habits every contender wants more of. Last season, he averaged around 8 points and 4 rebounds while shooting efficiently from both the field and beyond the three-point line.
Those numbers won't make headlines, but his overall impact goes far beyond the stat sheet. For a player who consistently helps teams win, it's surprising that his market has remained so quiet. As free agency continues,
Bruce Brown deserves far more attention than he's currently receiving. And that's our list of 5 talented players who are somehow still available despite having proven they can contribute at the NBA level. Whether it's Beal rediscovering his form, Westbrook continuing to silence critics,
or Bruce Brown providing championship-level versatility,
each of these veterans has something valuable to offer the right team. Now it's your turn. Which of these free agents do you think deserves a contract the most? Which team would be the best fit for them?
Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.
If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more NBA content, and I'll catch you in the next video.